Second to the last game was when we finally secured a bronze. Go.
Hi, Shanda here. Welcome to Shanda Stories, where we sit down and have conversations about life, change, and stuff we don't usually say out loud. I'm here right now at the Second Mile Coffee with Sandra Villacruz. So, Sandra, for those who do not know you, describe yourself and what you do.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Sandra Villacruz. I'm currently taking up my MBA. Almost finished. I took my undergrad and taking my MBA in Ateneo de Manila University. I'm also part of the college basketball team for the entirety of my stay there. Yes.
Okay, so speaking of basketball, I've really known you ever since as the basketball player. Kasi high school pa lang, no?
Yeah.
High school pa lang, she used to be my former student. So parang the tapos kakanta ka, tapos mag-play, tapos kakanta ka, tapos,
Yes.
you know.
That's been my life for a while.
So when did you first fall in love with basketball?
Oh, wow, that brings me way back. Really like when I was a kid pa talaga, as in before I even got to play competitively in high school, I really fell in love with the sport already. I think it was one of those times when my dad would take me with him. So he plays
Dad?
basketball. Yes, my dad. So he would take me to like some of his like Saturday or Sunday basketball stuff with his friends. So they're all a little like older than me, but I'm just there on the side. You know, every time out, every break, he'll be like teaching me a little bit of things, and that's just where I started to enjoy it. And then thankfully, after a while, we have a team in Jubilee, so that's when I really like did it properly.
How
Like-
different was it from high school team and then college team? How different?
So different. And I think a big factor is really that the school that I was part of in high school, Jubilee Christian Academy, it was such a small school. So we didn't really get to compete in bigger stages. Even how competitive it was very different from college. And so from high school coming into college, as in high school, I would say I was probably one of the top players, at least among our community, which is not that big. But the moment I stepped into college, it was so different. I was the one being pushed around. I was really, when they say I was a rookie, I was a rookie. All I did was my contribution to the team was carrying carrying water jugs or jerseys or balls, and that was really my role in the team that time because I had to get stronger, I had to get smarter in the court, which was so far from what I experienced in high school. So it was really like a 180-degree turn. It was kind of crazy. Now looking back, it's kind of crazy. Pero I mean, I feel like everyone kind of has that little bump, and that was mine. It was just pretty big for me. It was a big adjustment.
And of course, you grew from there.
Yes, definitely. I think that was the most growth that I have had because I was so used to, having so much minutes in the court in high school, and then all of a sudden, I was so excited for college, and then I'm just all my minutes are on the bench, just cheering, which was very different to me because that I was just never in that,
Talagang
in
ganun
that
sila kagaling.
situation. Ganun sila kagaling. And even me,
Hindi
I
to
was like,
bullying or anything.
no, I was lucky enough to be in a team where really it was a good group of people. So that really was not, that was just me. Unfortunately, my skills were really not up to par yet to really compete in that level. So it was a little difficult. But I mean, I got to finish the 6 years down of my college. I guess it's okay.
Okay, so describe I'm sure towards your last few years, talagang lumalaban ka na.
Yes.
Nakikita kita sa mga headlines eh.
Yeah, I hope there were good headlines. Yes.
So, can you describe your typical training week during peak season?
Peak season is actually not as rigorous as off season, just because they have to really manage a lot of people's playing time. Because since there are games, it's so nakakapagod. As in, so people are really drained. At least the people who play a lot, they're really drained, and so practices can't be as hard. So the real time where we have to really push ourselves is off season. That's where everyone is like really on like yung pinaka malala na training. So yun.
So how do you manage it with your school and ACADS?
I think in Ateneo, that was really the most challenging part because I feel like if I just said, I'll just play basketball and I won't have to think so much about studies, I could really devote a lot of time and effort just on that. And then the rest of the time, I'm just resting or whatever, recovering now. But with the whole academics thing, it's very challenging because you really have to learn how to manage your time, which I was really not known to be the best at that. But I was forced to do it so that I would pass. So really managing my time, you have to always listen to your body, I feel like, because there are times when you think that kaya pa, and then the next day, super patay ka naman. And you can't do anything, you can't even study, you can't go to training, and ganyan. So it's difficult because all of our trainings are in the morning. Now I would prefer morning trainings just because I'm used to it. But before, I'm not used to waking up that early.
Yeah.
So our trainings would be like around 5:30 all the way to 9, and then we have weights in the middle of the day. So either right after practice or in the middle of the day, one of that. Yun. So yung lahat ng butas, that's really what you have to manage.
Pero
Because-
wala ka ng life, yun na yun.
ayun na talaga yun. Yeah, so I think that's a difference with other college students because they can actually, they have a lot of time to go party, ganyan. And as much as I want to go, it's difficult because I'll party and then the next day you have 6 a.m. training. So you have to be alive for that, obviously. So, ayun, it's just a lot of time management, but it's really not impossible. Like, there are people before me who have done it a lot better than me, and there are people right now who are still doing it. And so, even if it's challenging, it's really doable.
Okay. Next. What's something wait. Okay. What's something people don't see about being a college athlete?
People don't see. I think a lot of I think what we mentioned was really the training. I think people think that training is just physically hard. But I think what a lot of people don't know is that when you commit to this team, to the basketball team, you don't just think about you don't just think about basketball from your 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. You really have to it has to be your whole life. Not really now, you always have to be playing basketball, but you have to start eating right, because if you want to perform, you have to eat right. You have to rest early. That is why people don't really contact me after 9. Before, I'm until 9 lang, and then I'm really done. Yun. So, it's a lot of that, and you have to study the game, which is done really outside the court. So, I don't think people really see that, na even if I'm in class, there are times when I'm still thinking about the game. And that's really what's going to help you get better, if that's what you do. So yun, I also took a while to realize that. But I think those are the things that some of the athletes really do.
Parang it cannot just be a hobby or a sideline.
No. Unfortunately, if it's college level na, that competitiveness, it's difficult to make it a hobby. So because there are days when you really hobby kasi parang there are times when you want to, then you do it. But there are days when you really don't want to get up for practice. Or when you lose a game and you just don't feel like doing anything. But I guess that's the thing when you commit to it, it's really, you have to do everything else, whether you like it or not. So, yun, there are days when nakakatamad, pero it's always it's always a test for me. Na parang, you said that you wanted to do this, so you have to do it. That means all of this also. I think it's really taking the good and the bad together. Eventually, it'll be okay. Yeah.
Marami bang nag-quit? Wala.
Meron rin. I wouldn't say marami. Because I think if you're at that level already, it's such a big opportunity rin kasi. So there's a different sense of pride, of joy to be part of a team, to represent your school, even your last name, everything in that kind of level. So I feel like if you have the opportunity, that means you're skilled enough to get to that level. You're bound to continue it. That means you've done some work beforehand already, and you've seen how difficult it was, and how much more you could do. Parang it's that I think it's that stage. That's why not a lot of people really quit. And obviously, you're surrounded by people who are all going through the same thing. So it's a little more comforting, even if it's difficult. Parang you can see naman your teammates also going to class. Lahat tayo puyat, lahat tayo pagod, but we're still all doing it. So I think that kind of community is good. So it always just pushes you.
Any temptations na na-experience mo?
There are a lot, of course, because I think in college, that's a time when really there are so many people from different backgrounds coming in, and that's when you start learning about different beliefs, whatever, ever. So different practices also. There are a lot of temptations, I'm sure, and
Something that you've personally experienced.
uh,
Natempt ka talaga. Maybe you gave in, maybe you didn't, but
maybe like in the going out scenario, I think it's happened a lot. Yeah, because it's usually like it's always a struggle. Like you wanna have fun after the week. Na sobrang pagod ka, ganyan. So, and everyone is out there. So you wanna go out also. And then I think the biggest temptation is sleeping in on Sunday. Because parties only happen on Saturdays. Because unfortunately, we can't party on Fridays because we have practice on Saturdays. So it's always a Saturday thing. That means that's why my parents are always like on me, like, okay, you're going out, you better be in church the next day, which is a good practice. I mean, I wish there were some days that I did not drink as much, so that on Sunday I'm really awake and I'm ready for the whole sermon and everything. Pero I think that was something that I had to learn. All the years of playing. Yun. So I think it was a discipline lang talaga of setting some time for God also. It was that other thing that you have to put into your busy schedule. So there were times when I would really, or I couldn't do it. I'd be in church, but I'd be half awake. Yung mga ganyan. And then there are days when it's okay, and you feel a lot better about yourself. Yun.
Okay. Next. How do you deal with wins and losses as a person in the team?
Well, to be honest, I mean, emotionally, of course, wins are a lot better than losses. Emotionally. But I think in terms of maturity, wins are kind of more difficult to deal with than losses. Because in wins, it's so easy to kind of think that you did everything right. So it's kind of harder to observe what are things that you have to work on. In losses, it's pretty easy because you lost. So you have to watch the film again. And you have to see like where you did wrong, ganyan, ganyan. And so it's easier to kind of identify the things you have to work on. So that takes a lot of maturity to focus on, to also study the wins as much as the losses. So, but obviously emotionally, like when you lose, especially putting all that effort, parang it's very heavy. So that's when like a lot of discipline comes in terms of when you lose, are you going to still keep pushing, or are you gonna go to class, which is like right after your game? Yung parang ganyan, it's just like you still have an assignment for this day and you lost. So parang walang gana to do anything already. So, yun.
What about with your teammates? Parang do you tend to like blame or when they're
I think there were some instances, I think our emotions would really get ahead of us. And parang hindi naman yun masyado maiwasan. That there are some blaming, some ganon. There are some, pero I think the group is well led most of the time that we really don't want that. And it's more of like, I don't know how it is in like other schools again. I can only speak for the teams I've been with. But when those things happen, it's usually forgiven just because we trust each other enough that we all have one goal here. And pointing fingers will really not do anything for us. And that means, and we all know it. We really know it. We just get ahead of ourselves usually like from emotions, ganyan ganyan, which is like most of the time we just have to talk it over like in a more, private way. Yeah.
Parang yung mga teammates mo, good terms skill.
Good terms talaga. Especially outside the court, it's really, wala akong masabi, they're really like family. Inside the court, yun, we'll see. But usually it's really good naman talaga. Unless, as usual, we're really tested when there are challenges in the court. So, ayun, makita mo, mainit ulo or yelling or like whatever.
Okay. Baka yung drink muna.
Yeah.
Okay, ang next ko is... Okay. Can you share one of your... Can you share one of your most memorable games?
Most memorable in a good or a bad way?
Any.
I guess one of the most memorable games in a good way, I'll start with that, is the second to the last game we had in my last year. So the second to the last game was when we finally secured a bronze, which hasn't been done in more than, I think, more than 7, I know more than 7 years.
O, na-headline ka rin.
Yeah. Yun. So, it was very memorable because the game was difficult, but we finally overcame it. Because that team that we played against was somebody, it was always I would say at this point, they're our rivals. It was always us or them. And we lost to them the season before that for the bronze also. So they got the bronze. And we were the ones who lost in that game. So itong year, it was most memorable just because finally parang that was always the thing that we couldn't get across. So finally I was ending the season, at least having overcome them.
And it's our last year.
It was my last year. So it was really like an all or nothing type of thing. And because if you lose that, you don't get a medal at all. And the game was really, I would say it was impressive because we felt like we played a different way. It was we were all together. It was really like trusting the coaches. It was it was kind of unlike us. It was how we should have been playing from the start. I think that's when we saw na, okay, we're turning a corner now and we're getting to where we want to be. Ayun, obviously we hope that we did it games before, but I guess we had to go through a lot talaga to learn that. And yun, that was the time like we won bronze, and for other teams who always been up there, bronze is nothing. Like it's sad to get bronze. But for our team, who's always been fourth for a while, getting a bronze was really almost everything to us.
Yes.
Yun, so that was the most memorable in a good way. In the bad way was obviously the game after that, because that was the second to the last game. The last game was the worst. Was the worst because that was the key to a silver medal. Ayun, so a lot of like disappointment there kasi parang it was us not playing our best and those things. I guess it's like not a lot of things also went our way. But the bottom line of that game, I think, was it was what showed us na parang we still did not prepare enough. It's not even, a lot of things didn't go our way that game, but I would say that we would have won that game easily if we prepared a little more. So it's just, that was just difficult to kind of deal with. Yeah.
Wow. Sad, no?
It's so sad.
It's so sad.
It's so sad because that's also your last game.
Oh,
Because it's either you win as a champion
yeah.
and your last game was a win, or you're everyone else whose last game is a loss.
Pero parang your entire 6-year career, at least you got,
A bronze,
diba?
which is really, it's hard to it's hard to see it that way and be grateful because of our last game when parang sayang, ang lapit na kasi. But really, I'm sure like through time, when I look back, I'm like, thank God we got a bronze. It was also pretty difficult to get it.
What does it look like for you to follow Christ in a competitive environment? Nakakalimutan mo ba yung pagiging Kristiyano?
Oh yeah, that's very true. I think I mean, as much as you want to say na, madali lang yan, ganyan, it's really not. Especially like it's in your period when you're in college and you want to get out and you want to do these things, try these things, meet new friends, whatever. There are really times when I think the environment gets the best of me. So I would it's not that I would forget, but it's like I would push it aside, which is really not supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be you. It's not something you just take apart when you want to and
Parang
put it there.
compartment.
Oo.
Compartment.
Parang ayoko muna today. So yeah. So there's obviously been some times that it's happened, and I think it's very challenging, but it's also such a good opportunity to grow as a Christian. I think that looking back, I think I could have done a better job for sure. Maybe put Christ first in a lot of situations and have been more influential to other people in terms of Christianity. But yun nga, I think it was really like a place to grow, to learn the things that, maybe like I have to work on this a little more because I'm easily tempted in this place. Or it's a lot of discipline that's like you really want to do this, but it's not right. So then you have to do the right thing. Yung mga ganyan. So it's challenging. But I guess the thing that I'm really grateful about is how you know that God is always there. Na parang literally I've pushed him to the side so many times. Now if it was any other person, any other human, they would have gone. But him, he's just always there. Which is both like a double-edged sword. Na parang, that's why you could easily push him aside. It's because na nandyan lang naman siya anytime. You just ask for forgiveness, ganyan. Yun. But obviously, I'm very grateful for that. Na he's that kind of God that I look up to. That he's always there. Ayun. So even amidst all of this, parang there's always some comfort in me that I knew that he was always there, and it shouldn't be that I was compartmentalizing my Christianity, but it was a good thing na I felt secured in some way. Now when I'm in a difficult situation, I could always still come back then.
Okay. Bakit ako naiyak? Hindi naman kailangan. Okay.
Don't cry always. I'll cry also.
Okay, but I'll cut short.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you're about to graduate, and tapos na yung basketball career mo, who are you now without your uniform?
It's kind of difficult to answer. It's difficult to answer because I think that uniform has defined me for a long time. And not just like basketball wise, like wearing the ateneo uniform, specifically ateneo, I think it really shows that you're a student athlete. So it's not just like my basketball side that's being represented. I think also being a student was there. I've never thought about that actually. I feel like it's always going to be ingrained in me some way. It was such a big part of my life where I don't think I could just easily like
Let go.
let go of it. And I think it makes up a lot of me. Because I think more than like basketball skills, time management, ganyan, I think I've learned a lot of values in basketball, leading the team towards the end of my career since I was like the captain already. Parang I think that's really
Grabe,
what
captain
molded.
ka ba? Hindi ko alam yun ah.
Yeah, for a couple of years.
Ah, talaga?
Yeah.
So from taga ano?
Taga-buhat to to that. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really hard to like take it out of like take it apart from me. Um, a lot of the things I really learned, life lessons, is really through the sport, and which I was really like grateful to have that opportunity to even have a jersey for me. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we'll see in a couple of years what it's gonna look like. Probably. I hope like not a couple of pounds heavier, but I guess now it's really the time to kind of explore new things, to try out new things. My schedule looks very different now, so let's see what I do with the time.
So wala ka pang plans as to what's next?
I mean, my parents definitely has plans, and their plans is to work. So I'll have to go down that route.
Mag-work ka!
I do. I have to work. I know, which is actually I'm really excited about because it's a new environment. New. I know there are a lot of things that I have to learn.
Where? Meron na?
Wala pa. So, taking the step to even bring out my application forms.
Corp.
Yeah. So, my idea is really to try corporation for a bit.
You're not going to study abroad or anything?
I mean, that's also one of the options, but I feel like I kind of want, at least in my entire life, I want to try corporate for a little bit just to see if it's like for me. And it's always like it's what I've heard that based on what I heard, it's like, it's really for you or it's really not for you.
Yeah.
So I want to try it and see if it's for me. If it's not for me, then at least I know.
Yeah.
And at least my parents know it's not. Yeah.
What about still in that sport area? Meron ka pang plans like coach or to form your own team or or to continue playing?
As of now, it's really. I think I've reached a point where I think I wanna stop first and see because I know how passionate I get when I get into the sport, any way of the sport. So I feel like when I touch on that again, I feel like I'm gonna devote my whole life again. So I'm at this point na parang, okay, I have a window out, and so I'll take it. And I still know I love the sport, and I want to go back to it eventually. But now it's really the time to kind of put other things first. Because it was, for the longest time, I'd always put everything else on the side and put basketball first and representing the school first. But now, without that, parang I don't want to put myself in that situation yet. Because I know how crazy I would get into that sport only. And I feel like I'll miss out on a lot of other opportunities outside.
Okay, any words of advice or encouragement to young Christian athletes out there?
I think one advice I wish I also took upon myself was to really devote some time to strengthen my faith in Christ. Because again, I don't think you couldn't control the people around you, the environment you'd be in. It's always gonna be there. It's gonna come. So there'll always be temptation. But I think strengthening your faith, even beforehand, setting a stronger foundation would really direct you in a better path. And there will be a lot of things that you wouldn't regret doing, or on the other side, if not regret, you might actually be a light to other people as well. So I think it's more of preparation. It's difficult to see it as a younger athlete because you don't know what's out there. You're still so excited. You're like this, like this. But once you're there, you'll be like, oh wow, it's very different. And there are days when you would say, I wish I was a little stronger in my self-control or in my discipline or just really like, developing my Christianity, na it's not easy for me to get swayed with those things. And at the same time, hopefully because of that, the strong foundation that you have with Christ, you're able to also pull other people along in the right direction.
Okay, sige. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ate Shans.
And thank you everyone for listening. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. How many minutes did we?
I feel like mga 10.
10. Okay, let me check.
Let's see.